Okay, thank you very much for asking me to be here today. So I'm going to talk about using mobile phone applications in a CNVR setting. So a little bit of background about us. We are a CNVR program in Sri Lanka. We do not have a shelter model and never had a shelter model. We did small-scale CNRV for the first couple of years, and in 2014 did a pilot program in Negombo in Sri Lanka, and from 2015 did a larger scale program supported with mobile app technology for mission Rabies, which later turned into the WVS App. So the WVS App is highly customizable to each project, so we have our own forms, and it's very much map-based, so there's a GPS tag for every activity that we record. So we did a baseline rabies vaccination first, so we spoke with the municipal council, we did the inner municipal council area. So these are wards that are the local authority boundaries. And using teams of vaccinators and the app to direct them, we went ward by ward, vaccinating roaming dogs. And over the course of 18 very, very long days, we data recorded over 5,000 animals and vaccinated 4,500. We also had a path tracker facility that allowed us to check that all our teams had gone down every single road. So every single dog that we could see had been vaccinated. So not only did we reach 78% vaccination coverage, which was amazing, we also got a huge amount of data that allowed us to run our program. So what we were able to do was analyse the data that we collected during the vaccine drive, and we had our male-female bias. We saw a very strong bias to males. We could see the age profile of dogs. We could see the ownership of dogs, and this is people who claimed ownership during the program. So though a lot of dogs were roaming, 80% of dogs somebody claimed ownership to and took a vaccine card from us. We were also able to look at skin condition, previously vaccinated, so 11% of dogs had been vaccinated previously, and from a spay-neuter point of view, we could see that nearly 93% of dogs in the city of Negombo was still unsterilised. So we had our work cut out for us there. So you can also look at this data in a more sort of graph, and that was able to give me a lot of information about the subcategories of dogs. I could see which categories, so all owned females were sterilised was 12%. I could see that of male roaming dogs that were sterilised were 15%. So we could start to break down the subcategories, which are going to be very important for us in the programme. So to actually deliver the programme, we are a mobile service. In our city, people would not come to us, we have to come to them. So we have a purpose-built truck. It's a commercial truck that we have retrofitted to become a surgery unit. That will arrive on site at 6 o'clock every morning, and then we set up a series of tents outside. So the surgery happens inside the truck, all other hospital functions happen outside under tents. So we now have to get dogs to us. So we bring them in via nets. So these are roaming dogs, similar to the video we saw this morning. So these dog catchers go out to predetermined zones and will catch roaming dogs. They will also bring in owners' dogs where the owner doesn't wish to come in. And the dog catchers will actually data collect the dogs as they're coming in. So they will, on the phone app, record the dogs, where the dog has come from, and details about the dog. The other way people access the program is by coming directly to the clinic. And again, those dogs will be registered when they arrive. That really cute puppy, I adopted that. She's lovely. She's called Star. So once dogs come into the program, we set up a drug sheet for the dog, and at the prep table, they are entered again onto the app. So at this point, we're repeating some of the information the dogs have already had. They now have their unique collaring system for the day, so we know who they are, and that goes into the app. So at the prep table, when animals are being prepared for surgery, we insert a microchip into every dog, and that microchip is scanned back into the app. So we now have the capture data and the surgery data. At the point that the animals are being prepped, this is a key point when you're running a spay-neuter program, the induction time. You may have dogs that you have prepared for surgery and they now become clearly that they're not a good surgical candidate or there is a surgical complication. If that's the case, the dogs are removed from the surgery program. That's also recorded on the app. If the dogs are cleared to go through to surgery after checks, they'll go up onto the truck, the surgery will happen. And if there's any surgical complications there, again, that information is fed back to the person with the app and the surgery form for that dog is changed. The dogs then go into the recovery system, and only when the dogs are fit to be released are they then either sent home with the owner or taken back to the street. We do operate a same-day release program, and we are sterilising male and female owned and unowned dogs. When the dogs leave, they go back out with the dog catchers. They are taken back to exactly the same place they were caught from and released, and the app will tell me within how many metres that dog has been placed back to the correct place. So we try to go back within 5 metres. If the dog was caught in the middle of a road, the catchers will place the dog on the side of the road. But it's really important dogs go back to the same place. That's one of the biggest complaints from councils about these programs, is if dogs are dumped or returned to the wrong place, particularly as some of these dogs may have owners. And then once they're back on the street, we're able to follow them up because of the microchipping. You can see the small V shape that's been removed from the ear. That also shows that the dog is permanently sterilised. And that means the dog catchers won't re-catch the same dog twice. And it's really important that you capture the good and the bad from your program. So it's not just about saying how many dogs we sterilised. You do need to record how many dogs had surgical complications, how many dogs died, and that's really important if you're going to be transparent with your program. And if I say this once, I think Mark will laugh, I say this all the time to everyone. And the other thing I say is it in the app? So everyone's used to this. But you need to measure everything when you run a spay-neuter program. It's not just about numbers, and the smallest things will make a big difference. So recording the temperatures of dogs pre-op, if you then start seeing a problem later on, it gives you data you can go back and have a look at. Understanding the subpopulations of dogs is also really, really important. So this is what we will produce every day. This is a snapshot result of one day's clinic, so 44 sterilisations. And then it breaks down and tells me how many dogs came to the clinic via the catching vehicles, how many had owners, how many owners presented, and then we're also looking at male and female as well. And we do that every single day, and that builds up a really impressive set of data that you can look back on. What we find early on in an intervention is you'll get a lot of puppies and juveniles. The longer you work in an area, you'll start to see more adult dogs. So these are owners that are late adopters that don't want to have their dogs sterilised straight away, or they're people that, or dogs that have been very hard to catch. But what you should see over time is the number of juveniles and puppies reducing if your program is working. We then also survey to make sure that we know when and where we need to go back. So again, we have customisable forms for the surveying in both English language and Sinhala, which is one of our 2 local languages. And then the surveyors will go to a predetermined zone, count all of the dogs, and they'll answer various questions on the form, including what do they see, are the dogs male or female, are they sterilised, the age profile. That will then allow us to see whether we need to redeploy the truck team back to that area again. And again, in the non-pictorial form, this is what it looks like. So again, I can see in this particular survey that I had 94 dogs were surveyed, and actually 60% of those dogs were sterilised, which is great news, and that we had 0 adult lactating females in that population. So that's a really good survey result, but we would still take the truck back and do more sterilisation work in that point. And this is Negombo after 3.5 years. This is 252 separate clinics citywide, and that's 7,224 sterilisations, giving us an 81.3% sterilisation rate. That was December last year. The program is still ongoing. We are now entering a maintenance stage where we now will survey the area, leave it, work somewhere else, come back, because if we just go away and leave it, dogs will eventually repopulate. So it's really, really important to keep resurveying, and when you have a good result, it's not finished. I've not found a way to walk away from Negombo yet. So any questions about the actual program, you can speak to me, my email, or if you've got technical questions about the app, Dr. Andy Gibson at Mission Rabies would be delighted to hear from you. So just to say thank you very much to our program sponsors, Dogs Trust Worldwide, and to Mission Rabies WVS for their app technical support. Thank you.